Hello everyone and welcome to the HobbyGuard. In today's video I will be reviewing this magnificent brand new army painter Speedpaint starter set. Before I jump into any of that though, quick disclaimer: an evil wizard, an opponent of mine, has cast a terrible spell on me. He deemed my ability of speech too powerful. Not that it's usually good, but it was getting a bit better, and so he cast an ugly spell and broke one of my tooth. And that tooth was very sharp, and the tooth got into my tongue, and my tongue keeps constantly getting cut against that broken sharp tooth. So basically what I'm trying to get at is I am in a lot of pain, and I will remain so while I wait for my appointment with the mouth doctor. And yeah, I will be unable to speak very well because speech is very painful, as I do use my tongue a lot for that and for other activities, which are all very painful at the moment. Yes, life is a bit miserable, but in any case, it's a good opportunity to start to learn a few speed painting techniques, as I have horribly fallen behind in my miniature painting because I am so meticulous. The first 30 or so miniatures that I painted, every one of them I used them as a learning opportunity, and I've definitely gotten a lot better. But it's gotten to the point where my pile of gray is really holding me back, where I want to buy new cool miniatures and I really can't justify it because I have so many unpainted ones. So I started this past couple of weeks looking into dry brushing and speed painting techniques, and so I bought the new, well, it's not new, but the Army Painter speed paint starter set, which comes with a brush. I will be painting this Dark Angels Sternguard Veteran because it'll be a better example for all the colors. We got green, we got red, and we got a few more colors in there. So we'll be looking into that, and I'll try to speak as little as possible because it is really painful. With that being said, remember, I am still testing out my painting station over there, my setup with the camera and everything. So please let me know any critiques, any suggestions, any ideas of how I can make it better. It's kind of a bummer that I really have like so many videos I want to make, so many things I want to talk about, and I can't really talk right now. So that's a bummer, but it is what it is. With that being said, welcome to the HobbyGuard, and let us begin. Let's begin by unboxing this beautiful set before we paint our majestic here Sternguard Veteran. Now I chose this because it has a ton of detail, and bunch of different vibrant colors, so it will be something that will be at the very least fun to work with. And right off the bat you can see here that it has this beautiful speed paint brush, which looks just like any other brush, but it's not. It's a speed paint brush. It says right there, so that's good to know. Let's check out the contents inside. By the way, I guess I should have said earlier, this is not paid by the Army Painter in any way. Obviously, I thought that goes without saying. Oh, there is another brush in there. Oh, that's nice. Base coating. Sweet. So 2 new brushes for me. And we can see here all our paints. This is pretty good for a starter set, I gotta admit. You get a pretty good range of colors. You even get like metallic, green, black. This is something I'll be using a lot for my kill team, as well as my Iron Hands miniatures. Palette bone. This is something I would like to use for the robe of this Sternguard, as well as either that like sculpt at the top, or I also have a million Deathwing Terminators. That's gonna come in handy as well. Now, orc skin. Obviously this is a Dark Angel, so you might think, oh yeah, green will go great. I am hesitant to use this green because I like my Dark Angels with darker green, but we'll see. Maybe I can mix it with that green black. I slaughter red. This is what we'll be using for the gun. Zealot yellow. That's nice. Not sure I'll be using much yellow for this miniature though. Purple swarm. Nice. peachy flesh. Not much flesh in this miniature, unfortunately. As you can see, like the very top of his face. Beowulf Blue. I gotta say, sickest names out there for naming their paints. Satchel Brown. I shall be using that for the satchel. Will you guess? And yeah, like the holster, pistol holster. I like to put like leather on my Dark Angels. Let me show you real quick. So this is another Dark Angel that I painted previously. Unfortunately, I still gotta work on my camera setup. But I hope that you can see here in the joints of the armor. So out of focus, I apologize. But in between the joints of the armor, like I don't know if it's called like the carapace armor. But that under armor I also like to paint as if it was leather or brownish in color, as well as the soles and obviously all the pouches and whatnot, because it gives me a vibe of, you know, the Dark Angels have a cultural heritage of being space feudal knights, and all that leather underneath the armor kind of brings it back to a more medieval tone for me, so that's why I like to go with that. And I will do much the same for my Sternguard Veteran here. And last but not least, we have Broadsword Silver, which I shall be using for the metallics, which will be the barrel of the gun, the blade that I kitbashed underneath the gun, some other accentuations here and there. So with that being said, let us begin. Right, there's this little booklet with an introduction, and that's one thing I love about Army Painter. Like older booklets for older stuff, you'll see I keep around a bunch of them because I have useful information for the hobbyist. You know, it's, if you will, opposed to Citadel, Color, or now Warhammer Paints and Games Workshop in general. Like the way they operate is their information is very compartmentalized, if you will, and that's not something I really like. It's like, here, you just buy the box, and you know, there's codes, there's guides for everything, and it's very, very hobbyist friendly or beginner friendly, if you will. So let's set that aside. Here's, which is nice. I had no clue we'd find some stickers inside of this. Aw, that's adorable. Little Army Painter goblin. Okay. Looks like we're ready here then. Let's start out with a ratio of 2 green to 1 black, just to try it out. And we can see here they're mixing up quite nicely. Oh, nice. Yeah, that looks exactly like what I wanted, exactly like my Caliban green that I wanted. Now let's just thin that a bunch, because again, this is my first time trying like this slap chop style technique. So let's thin it a bunch with water first. You can always add more paint later. It's basically my first time trying out contrast paints from the start with a miniature, so I'll be very shy applying it. Pro tip here, pro noob tip if you will, because I am a pro noob, but I'm also a pro. When you're trying something out for the first time, just try part of the miniature that is very well hidden. That you, like, don't start with shoulder plate or whatever, you know, start hidden. Let's try here with the leg, and let's apply it generously, I suppose, because it is very thin down. I might have thinned it down a bit too much. This is going into the grooves real nice, and this got applied like very smoothly onto the paint. It's getting dried a bit, and I absolutely love it. I realize it's hard to look on the camera. I definitely got to work on my setup there, but so far I really like. I will say though, just as are very orky, like the orc skin paint, it looks like a very orc green, so I'll definitely have to make it a bit darker, if you will, because they are the Dark Angels, not the Orc Angels. Just a hair more black, just because the miniature underneath is very bright. I might have gone a bit too dark now. Even though it looks white dark on the palette, it looks pretty well on the miniature itself. Pretty cool how I wanted it to look. I might still go over later and apply some washes. Sure, I might have had to do that beforehand, now that I think about it, because it is still looking pretty bright. I love how the pigments, even though I got it pretty thin down with water, I do have contrast medium where I wanted to try it out first with water. Why use something like this if this is a starter, right? And I'm making a review of a starter set. Most people who are starting out won't have that at the ready, so certainly giving off a very dark green tone, and I love it. I can always come back and do the highlights, and in fact the highlights will look even better with this dark green tone. So far, I gotta admit, it's weird. It's almost like once the paint dries off, it's super gray. I don't know if I thinned it down too much. Don't think I didn't add that much water. But in any case, it's still like I got no issues with the paint. If anything, I think it's me that must have messed up at some point in the thinning process. But there's some real nice texture to it for sure. I won't leave this miniature looking like that. I still got a lot of work to do afterwards. But it was sort of a nice first test just to get a hand of how these new paints mix and go on to the miniature. So next we'll do the weapon and the purity seals. Alright, now next let's try the satchel brown for all those leathery parts. Again, I got to thin down a bit with water. Probably 1-to-1 with water, or 2-to-1, 2 paint, 1 water, let's say. Okay, and last I will try the metallics. Now, obviously I'm just trying to get all the base colors in there. So far I am somewhat content. I've locked in most of the colors that I can do with contrasts. And yeah, certainly proceed to maybe dry brush some more highlights and then do some fine tuning with the highlights. But so far, man, I really am starting to like these paints. I'll use them a lot more often. And these will really help me to dig through my pile of shame in a timely manner and be able to bring these models to the tabletop as soon as possible to deploy them on the battlefield. It does come with 2 brushes, so that is very nice. And I would love to talk more about it as well as to show the process of finishing the miniature and whatnot, but speech again is extremely painful for me. So maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. With that being said, thank you for coming, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment down below, again with any suggestions for this type of content in the future, whether what you would like to see and what I can do better. Remember, these are all just tests to do more and more of these videos in the future, and apologies for my weird manner of talking.